Welcome, everyone. I'm Jackie, the host of Ram Dass's Here and Now podcast. And today we are celebrating 7 years of the Be Here Now network. You know, it originally started with just 4 podcasts. It was Ram Dass, Jack Kornfield, Sharon Salzberg, and Joseph Goldstein. But today there are 18 shows on mindfulness, consciousness, and Eastern philosophy. And it includes people like Krishna Das and Alan Watts, Spring Washam, and Lama Rod Owen. It has Raghu's Mind Rolling podcast, our guest podcasts, and many others. And about 2 million of you tune in each month, which is pretty incredible. You know, this was a big part of what Ram Dass wanted for the future, his legacy was to have the teachings of Maharaji and the Dharma continue into the future. And I can't tell you how many people have told me that they've discovered Ram Dass in the last few years and then dove into the Here and Now podcast and devoured all 280 plus episodes, and then jumped into other teachers and podcasts. So it really is an incredible offering. And it takes a ton of people to bring you these 18 podcasts each week. And we can only do that with sponsorship and donations. So to inspire donations, each year we do this big fundraiser, and it starts today, and it will go until October 11th. So as part of the kickoff today, you get some really lovely footage from our Boone retreat that happened last year. But you also get a chance to win a trip for 2 to our Maui retreat this winter. So to get free entry, and you can also increase your chance of winning by buying Be Here Now Network merchandise, you go to BeHereNowNetwork.com/giveaway. And you'll see all of the important details and how to enter for that trip for 2 to the 2023 Ram Dass Open Your Heart in Paradise Retreat in Maui. But to kick us off, we're going to show you some of the highlights from last year's first annual Ram Dass Mountain Retreat in Boone, North Carolina. It will include some words of wisdom from Krishna Das and Nina Rao and Raghu Marcus and Spring Washam. Some really great humor and insight from the beloved Robert Thurman, and then some great music with Krishna Das and East Forest and Nina Rao. So the second annual Ram Dass Mountain Retreat is coming up soon, August 24th through 28th, and there's still some spots available. It's really this amazing opportunity to deepen into this field of loving awareness in real time with these incredible wisdom keepers. And you get a chance to chant your heart out every night for the whole retreat. Being there, really, it's an experience beyond words. So you can learn more about this East Coast retreat, which makes it much more available to many people, by going to ramdass.org/mountain retreat. So we hope you enjoy these best of moments from the first annual mountain retreat. And we look forward to seeing you soon. Namaste and blessings.
Good morning. It's always morning somewhere. We figured he liked us a little bit. So we asked him, he said, Baba, how can we find God? And he said, serve people. Excuse me? People? What, serve them for lunch? What is he talking about? Serve people? We said, okay, well, maybe he's a little spaced out. He doesn't. So Baba, how do we raise Kundalini, He said, feed people. We just weren't ready to hear it. We weren't ripe enough to understand what he was saying. He never encouraged us to do any practice for our own spiritual advancement, for ourself. He never encouraged us to do any practice for our own spiritual advancement, for ourself. He never encouraged us to do those kind of practices. And we just didn't get it for a long time. Everything and everyone that came to Maharaji received blessings of some kind or other. All he did was bless and distribute gifts, spiritual gifts to people. And of people who needed money, money came. A farmer who lost his water buffalo got another water buffalo. Everyone who came got something. He was only compassion and kindness. Only compassion and kindness. And of course, when somebody had to be told off, he could do that too, but that's also compassion. You know, that well-known saint, I forget his name, he said, do unto others. So that's the whole deal. Because God, Guru, Self is exactly the same in each one of us. And when we treat another person unkindly or ourselves unkindly, we're hurting ourselves. And until we can do that, we're not going to find what we're really looking for. All the practice we do ultimately is to dissolve this crazy thing that we think we are, the ego. It doesn't actually exist, but we think it does, and so. The key and the secret is kindness and compassion. When I was Bob said the other day, when I was going to kill myself, I was having a nervous breakdown in the temple. And Maharaji looked at me and said, "What are you going to do, jump in the river? Ha!" He wasn't taking this very seriously. The river was only 6 inches deep, though, But I figured if I got my head under a rock, it could work. Then he says to me, "You can't die. Worldly people don't die. Only Jesus died the real death." What? Because he gave his life for his people. He tried to die, but he became immortal. He gave his life for his people. So, when we can meditate like Christ, when we can care at least as much about other beings as we care about ourselves, our suffering will be over. The more we do practice, the neurosis just grabs onto our practice. How am I now? Is this the best? Do I now have the best butt on the block? Should I do more yoga? What do I think? How about this? This is a really good meditation. Maybe I should write it down. What is this? This is all nonsense. All we do, Maharaji said, don't think about yourself. How do you stop? You think about others. We naturally, as our hearts open, we become more aware of other people, what they're feeling. It's not all about me all the time. Because that's the real, actual way it is. There's only, Maharaji used to go like this. So we thought, what are we getting busted for? Something we did, something we're gonna do, or something we're thinking about doing? So he said, "Baba, what does it mean when you do that?" He goes, "What does that mean?" Many names, many paths, many beings, all one. That's where he lives. That's where the great ones live. There's only one of us here. Love everyone, serve everyone, remember God. This is pretty much what Maharaji transmitted to us. He didn't transmit this meditation practice, this visualization, this thing or that. He transmitted to us to care about others. It's not so easy, which is why we do practice, to give us the strength to overcome our self-centered version of things and really see what's out there and who's out there. So Bob is going to take us on a journey of kindness and compassion.
His Holiness the Dalai Lama's special statement that he always makes, and he made when he first arrived in America in 1979, when once they gave him a visa, he said, "My religion is the common human religion of kindness." That's what it is. That's what Buddhism is. That's what my religion is. It's the common human religion of kindness, he said. And he sticks with that. And another thing he always says very proudly, that he never, ever gave any teaching about Buddhism with a motive of making people convert to Buddhism. He says that, he says it's on film, he says it in every lecture. And then he says, you should always say with your, oh dear, I don't like it when my hair goes forward. No. I have to always assure people that it's not a comb over. But I took a shower, so I forgot to brush it afterwards. I'm sorry, I just saw myself there. Excuse me. So he never has that intention. Never, ever did. And in fact, he says everyone should keep their grandmother's religion, because they can learn from other ones and they can practice other things. But they should learn from other traditions, because there's lots of different things that different traditions have to learn from. But to keep it framework within the culture of their grandmother. Otherwise, the grandma will be upset. I was a follower of infinity from youth. I used to tell the preacher that when he would tell me, you've got to believe, I used to tell him, why are you telling me that? He says, because you can't know, so you have to believe. And I said, well, that means you don't know either. And he said, yeah, but I believe. He said, well, you don't know, though. So you're telling me I got to believe just because you do, but you don't know. So why should I believe that? I used to say to him. And he used to get quite frustrated with me. He wouldn't put me in the lineup for the basketball team and this and that. But I didn't know about emptiness at that time. I only instinctively reached for infinity. And infinity is very close to what emptiness actually is, you know. Infinity is a very interesting concept. You know why? Because all of us right here now, we think, each one of us thinks we're finite. Yeah, I'm a finite. I'm Bob Thurman. It's Krishna Das over there, and you, and so on. You know, we're all finite. But actually, we're also all infinite, automatically, right? Because if we were not, then infinity wouldn't be infinite, would it? If it didn't permeate us all 100%, right? So that means what? That means that our sense of finitude is relativized. It's just something, it's kind of arbitrary. It's something we kind of make up, you know? And we're actually, all of us, essentially, same infinity, in fact. And that's something like emptiness. And I heard that Joseph Goldstein was going on about emptiness and love. And I'm delighted to hear that, because that's what it is.
Nishtopi Jagatatmani Tvai Spasharase Tyanta Tara Surkanta Dosmiti Having seen you, the soul of the world, made of the nectar of the highest bliss, even now do I more intensely long for the ecstasy of your touch, for the ecstasy of your touch.
You know, there's such a thing as a yogasm, right? And there is a type of bliss known as orgasmic bliss in the Kama Sutra literature. And in the Buddhist literature, though, in the Tantric esoteric literature, they translate it as innate or natural. Natural, to make it, clean it up, put a diaper on it, you know. But it doesn't necessarily mean ordinary sex. But it means something better than that. Extraordinary. In the heart, in the brain, in the navel chakra, you know, the whole Kundalini mess. And even real Kundalini is not just your own personal event. Real Kundalini creates a field in which you meet the deep life force of other beings. And that's what a Buddha is. The reason that Maharaji didn't have to teach them anything specific, like do this or do that, was because they were very different types of people. And because he created a field. Around him was a field in which they noticed their weirdness. And they had different reactions to that noticing. And he didn't want to confuse them by having them hide their weirdness in a particular practice. Like, now I'm going to become a macho yogi, you know, I'm not going to even speak for 75 years, and I'm going to be so uptight I won't even know anything. I'll be like that, and then you know what, and then don't talk to me. Like, I know some people who took 3-year retreats in Dharamsala, and they were famous among the Tibetan children who just loved to taunt them and make noise outside their retreat hut. And they would go in there, oh, I love all sentient beings. I love all of them. I love them. Oh, do brats, and they throw stones at them. And they'd run out on their little porch of their little hut, and they'd throw stones at the kids. I love you, but...
Perception of the soul is love, 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 love. You love fellow souls. I love things. I love my pain, my wheelchair. I love you all. I love the whole universe.
So you could think of a wheel turning very slowly. The wheel turned the first time, it gave individual liberation teachings. The second turning of the wheel, suddenly it goes from the individual to we consciousness. May we all get liberated, right? May we, there you have the archetype coming in of the bodhisattva, the one who becomes the one who carries the lamp for others in the darkness, right? They become the bridge, they become the archetype, they become the awakened hero in the story. And they do it not just for themselves, but for the benefit of all beings, right? Here we have the teaching where Neem Karoli would say, everywhere you look, you see Buddha, right? It becomes the we, it's an expanded view, right? These teachings, and you got that in China, and you get that in Tibet, and you get that in Japan, and that was practiced for a long time. So then you have the third turning, which is what I'm going to focus on, and that is called Vajrayana. Vajrayana, now we get shamanic, right? Here's the Mahasiddha lineage. Here's the crazy yogis. Here's the yoginis. Here's where we have the tantrikas. Here's where we have the cave dwellers and the ones out in the woods and the forests practicing, those naked on the ground or wearing bone ornaments and carrying ritual items that we're thinking, what is this? It looks very different from the traditional view of the sort of clean monk walking with all the rules. Here you have broken all rules. There are no rules, right? There's no more restriction. There's no more confinement, right? Here, everything is the path. Everything is the path. There is no more separation, right? There's no good and bad, right? There's no up and down. It just is. It's the non-dual school, right? And to a degree of mastery.
Sharon, you have a series of books, and in the title is the word real. Real change, real love. And now Sharon is working on a new book called Real Life, which we can't wait for. That set off a thing where it's been years now of us talking about what does it mean to get real, and Sharon's done a number of books to explain it out. But I want to ask you right here, right now, really, what does that mean, and what is real love in particular? So go for it.
Oh, good grief. Hello, everybody. I don't know why I said that. You know, it's a cool thing to say, and it's fun for me that you're sitting there with Dr. Bob, because many times we've had the chance to teach together, and it seemed to me that Bob is a very esteemed scholar and translator, had quite a liking for the word realistic. And he would talk about the realistic folds of the Eightfold Path or something within Buddhist teaching. And I'd be sitting there thinking, realistic's not an exciting word. You know, like, why get up earlier in the morning to be realistic, or make that effort, or, you know, give up something, like sacrifice something in order to be realistic. But of course, the more I thought about it and the more he talked about it, the more I saw there's power there, because that means being in alignment with the truth.
It's really time for you to see through the absurdity of your own predicament. You aren't who you thought you were. You just aren't that person. And in this very lifetime, you can know it. Right now. The real work you have to do is in the privacy of your own heart. All of the external forms are lovely. But the real work is your inner connection. If you're quiet when you meditate, if you truly open your heart, just quiet your mind. Open your heart. Quiet the mind, open the heart. How do you quiet the mind? You meditate. How do you open the heart? You start to love that which you can love and just keep expanding it.
Duncan, who had known about Ram Dass from early age through his mom, and then and sort of ignored it for a while, then came back to it, and then eventually found Ram Dass and a way to speak directly to him, because Ram Dass used to do Skype. Then one day, he turned on us. And off he went into this Buddhist thing, which he's never returned from, and we've never recovered. And this man...
It's his fault.
It's his fault. So you guys tell me what really happened there.
David made more sense.
All right, well, that's a good point. Now, I want you to tell me how David made more sense. Because this is...
Look, I'm so sorry. That was a cheap joke.
No, it's not a joke, though, because this retreat is called, one of the subtitles is Love and Reason. So sense is part of reason.
Right.
You unfortunately just dismissed the love and went right to the reason.
See, you bhakti people. It's always like that, isn't it? You dismiss the love. Well, look, I don't know. Maybe I did. The way, what I love about those retreats is that it's set up for all kinds of minds, not just, there's so many different, obviously everyone has a different way of looking at the world. And some people are going to be drawn to burning incense in front of deities and the bhakti thing. I've chanted Hare Krishna myself. I still do. But, the way my mind is, I had some, I think, precursor stuff before I got to the other stuff that I still am working on, and I think that's where the Buddhist stuff is quite pragmatic.
I also, when I went to India, like Ram Dass, I wasn't that into Hinduism and the myriad of gods and goddesses and statues and all of it. But somehow, after we were introduced to Hanuman, and particularly the Hanuman Chalisa, and a couple of the statues that were representing him that Maharaji had in his ashrams, I suddenly started, it was a connection that I could not put in words, but it felt good, so I didn't care.
It's probably more accurate to include, when you talk about impermanence, the notion of continuity as well. That's the dance, because the word tantra, gyo in Tibetan, means continuity. Something is continuing. Mm-hmm. That's where everybody could sort of with clarity of mind, you see there's no real discrepancy between the idea of continuity and the idea of impermanence. But what is it that's continuing is what you were saying. That's what you're trying to find, right?
Yeah.
At the beginning, weren't you saying
But
that?
yeah, in simpler terms,
Yeah.
I'm not, continuity, I mean, that's a big word.
Yeah.
Just in terms, true nature is much more relatable to me. Who am I behind the I that is in the day-to-day process of believing in thoughts and stories and falling back on habitual tendencies?
You're
So
my
the-
bubbler,
I
Raghu.
know that,
That's who you
Dave.
are.
Yeah, so we're both saying the same thing.
But impermanence would be the nihilistic one. Continuity could be the theistic one. But if you can put them together into a sense of being, our being is pervaded by impermanence, like the way Duncan's talking about it, and it's also pervaded by a sense of continuity, sometimes a false sense of continuity based on a small sense of self.
Yeah.
Does that make
That's
sense?
the key right there. Yeah, absolutely.
Shri Ram, Jai Jai Ram. 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 And I want to think back a little bit, and you think back too. What took you to India in the first place? Was there a spark, a light somewhere, an understanding or a feeling somewhere? You had a taste of what this unconditional love feels like. But it's just on the other side of the invisible veil. And everybody has had that experience somehow. And so because we have an idea about it, we can become a seeker and want to be in that space as much as possible. That's just a question that I've had because, the idea of a guru is so conceptual in a lot of ways. And we talk about it as if it feels like a construct sometimes. And I think that it's important for it to not be that.
Yeah.
Because they're not that.
Yeah.
Jayanti Mangala Kali Bhadra Kali Kapalini Durga Kshama Shiva Datri Swaha Swadha Namostute Jayatvam Devi Chamande Jaya Bhutartiharini Jaya Sarvagate Devi Kalaratri Namostute Ishasura Niranashi Bhaktanam Sukade Namaha Rupam Dehi Jayam Dehi Yasho Dehi Yasho Dehi There was a big celebration, and everybody, all the kirtanwalas came out of their room and were dancing around in front of the temple, and everybody had instruments and things to play. These guys had nothing to play, so they ran into the kitchen and they got some pots and pans, and they came back into the temple and started banging on these pots and pans. And this is a no-no. You don't bring this stuff into the temple from the kitchen. So when Maharaji saw this, he became like a raging monkey. Get out, like this, you know? And so they dropped everything, grabbed their bags, and ran into the temple. And as soon as they were gone, he starts repeating this phrase over and over, like, he was just too happy, you know, over and over. And I asked the Indian guy next to me, I said, what is he singing? And he was just like, he didn't want to tell me. I said, no, come on, tell me. He was singing, you banged the gong, and I threw you out, you banged the gong. For about 20 minutes, he sang, you banged the gong.
Thank you all for tuning in, and thank you also for being a part of the Be Here Now Network community. I want to end just with a big thank you to Ram Dass for all that he has given us and all of the incredible teachings and teachers he has brought our way. I also want to give a thank you to the inspired leadership of Love, Serve, Remember Foundation, the founding members and the board. This would not be happening without them. And also a great big thank you to all of you for your donations and for helping to keep this vision alive. So remember to go to the fundraiser and be entered to win a trip for two to the 2023 Open Your Heart in Paradise Maui retreat. There's free entries, and you can increase your chances by purchasing Be Here Now Network merchandise. Again, that is BeHereNowNetwork.com/giveaway. And you can also just make a direct donation. Go to BeHereNowNetwork.com/donate. And if you're not able to make it to Maui and you want to experience community in person, in real time, just highly encourage you to check out the mountain retreat on the East Coast in Boone in August. That's Boone, North Carolina, in August 24th through the 28th. You can find out more about that by going to ramdass.org/mountain retreat. Again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your donations. Thank you for helping to keep this network going into the future. Namaste and blessings.